Okay,
Wait, I just want to say one important thing. One important thing.
We are
Ready?
live. Don't say anything crazy. We are live.
okay.
Dr. Lang is a beautiful member of all of us.
Mhm.
Is that crazy, Dr. Lang?
That's not crazy.
There you
It's
go.
crazy. Yeah. If you guys don't mind, I'd like to start the show.
Okay.
That would be great.
Okay, Chaz, would you count us down for those who aren't familiar with production?
Yeah, yes, sir. All right, go. Let me just let me go ahead and play your three wise ones. The new transition here.
Okay.
Wait, so the live that I see is not the live that the other people see?
No.
The live that you see is 30 seconds slower. I mean, faster.
Oh,
Well, yours is a little bit. The live you're looking at is a little bit different.
okay.
I'm using the Pterodactyl all set up, Vincent. We're all good.
Chaz,
we'll talk about that after the show.
Okay. What was it, Rabbi? I'm sorry.
You know what they said in Jesus Christ Superstar?
What was that?
Prepare thee the way. Let's get moving.
All right. I'm going to count you guys down from 5, stopping at 3. 5, 4, 3.
Okay. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the craziness. I'm sorry. Welcome to What You Gotta Say. Now, you know it's Tuesday, and I got the three wise ones, or I got 2 and 1 dealing with some technical issues. In fact, this show is so special, we have 2 more wise people coming on. Another imam and another rabbi. So let's get the conversation going. As usual, 2 minutes, 2 seconds. See ya.
Okay, we're out.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so how was Hawaii? And well, I didn't get you a shirt when I went to Hawaii, so I'm not expecting.
Well, Hawaii was nice. It was more urban than I thought. It was way more expensive. A burger was $30. I want to know what kind of cows they're using. I was in Honolulu.
Well, Honolulu has the military base, so how is that expensive?
There are so many homeless people in Honolulu. I guess if you're going to be homeless, you might as well be in paradise. But my thing is, if you live in paradise next to the water, you shouldn't be dirty because you can just get in the ocean.
No, but you actually have to bet. Okay, we took the hop. So we got on a yacht and we just went from island to island to island to island. Do you know the best place to go to shop in Hawaii?
Where?
Walmart.
I did go to Walmart. I went to Walmart in Honolulu.
We went to Walmart for everything. Food, drinks, everything.
Yeah.
Shirts.
Yeah. Everything is cheaper on Post, though. So when I went to the commissary, it was on good.
No, Walmart was cheaper than Post. I went on Post.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
But listen, you know what they call Walmart in Honolulu?
What?
Homeless depot. Homeless depot.
Honolulu.
Okay. No, but what I didn't like about Walmart is that let's see, we went to one of the other islands where they have the bakery with the macadamia cookies.
Yeah.
Oh God.
When I go back, I'm gonna go to another island. My brother owns 6 acres in Hawaii.
Okay, great.
But I don't know which island.
Oh yeah, we got to see the gate that led to Oprah Winfrey's house in Hawaii. Where
She's got a house in Hawaii?
Yeah, she brought the actual road, so now they're suing her to get the road back.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's going to be expensive.
The lawsuit?
All right, 30 seconds.
Because Oprah has more money than most of the churches that we affiliate with.
Wow.
Count it down.
All right, 20 seconds left.
Cool. But yeah, it was fun. I loved it. I don't want to go back. I loved it because it was like my
Why was parking $65 a night?
Oh, well, hey, I'll give you another one.
Counting down from 5, stopping at 3, live at 5, 4, 3.
But a fish dinner was like $98 a person.
Yes.
Yeah. All that ocean in Hawaii, $98 for a fish dinner. I got a cheaper fish dinner in Atlantic City. Okay, welcome back. So, hey, listen, for those of you who are following us on YouTube, Facebook, Roku, you get to see some of the actual fun called the What We Don't Say, what the network does see. So enjoy it. Now, I got three of the wise ones. I've got our usual hailing right now. She's stationed in Arlington, Virginia. She is the United States Army chaplain. She is a reverend, a doctor, and she's got more hats than a church lady at a bargain sale. Not hats to wear, but hats in terms of her position. Army Major, Reverend Dr. Lang. How are you?
I am wonderful. It's good to be back. It's good to be back. And I'm taking some of my hats off.
No.
Yes.
No. Then what is everybody else going to aspire to? You're the big motivation for a lot of people that I talk to.
Self-care is very important. Self-care matters.
Okay. And rocking the sweater vest. In fact, we're going to have a Wise One show. We're just going to have a show with him and the sweater vest on National Sweater Vest Day. Believe it. There is a National Sweater Vest Day. He hails out of Pennsylvania from New Shoal of America. Rabbi Seth Frisch. How are you, Rabbi?
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yep, good. All good.
And dealing with some technical issues, better known as he has to hire a 14-year-old to put his equipment together. And let's see if we can hear him. Iman, are you with us? I'll take that as a no. Okay, so moving on. Now, coming on to the show, we also have a few other Imans. But while we're waiting for them, all right, here's the question of the day, or the statement of the day. Governor from Florida, Rick, has done it again. Not only does he have the don't say gay ban where you can't say gay, but if somebody else says gay who's not gay, then you can talk about being gay. But he also started this outrage about, guess what? Critical race theory in an elementary school. So he had this huge investigation on these books because it made people think critically about their race and the world around them. Now, first of all, everybody above a high school degree of education knows that critical race theory is only taught in one place, Harvard Law School. But the Republicans have been using critical race theory as a way to rally their supporters, to gain financial support for their campaigns, and to win elections. So, Governor rallies his troops together about critical race theory being introduced into elementary schools in terms of their books. But here was the thing. The book that contained the essence or structure of critical race theory, guess what book it was?
What?
Elementary school math.
How's a math book teach critical race theory? Like, how do we make that connection?
Lang.
It what?
It just doesn't add up.
You're right. It doesn't add up.
God,
you would think that people would see that they're grasping for straws, because the question is, who benefits from trying to eradicate critical race theory? Like, embedded in the fabric of this country.
White guilt, white society who don't want to admit what their great-great-grandfathers did to other people, great-great-grandfathers, or people who are in large corporations who made their money and profit during the industrial boom revolution stemming from slavery where they got free labor.
Well, I have a question for you. I have a question. It's a more fundamental question. Since I'm just your average, ordinary lay person in the world, and I don't know what critical race theory is, because maybe some of our viewers, they may experience it, but they don't know about it. What would you say in order to explain what is this thing that's only taught in Harvard Law School? What is that?
For me, the simplest version of what is critical race theory is just being reflective of the foundation of this country. It's just looking to see where is the racial tension embedded in the fabric of the systemic evil of this country. So it's not saying that all white people are racist. It's not saying that all black people are victims. It's not saying that babies are born racist. It's not even talking about a psychological understanding of what racism is. It's just looking at a systemic evil that's embedded in the fabric of this country that nobody can deny. I mean, pick something, mass incarceration, look at schools, look at the economic system, the disjustice, right? There's no way for black people to catch up to white people.
Okay, hold on.
After 300 years not being able to buy land.
let me just cut in and ask, if I'm just and I run to each other and I'm just this, ordinary white guy and I say, gosh, what's all this fuss? Where can I read about this? Let's say in a newspaper, right? What typified in an elevator speech even. What is
let me help you out, Rabbi
Seth?
Rabbi Seth, critical race theory in terms of Harvard curriculum actually goes into the systemic racism of the justice system and how it's geared to actually incarcerate people of color.
Is it a book? Is it a paper? What is it?
It is a class.
And
Yes.
that's what the governor of Florida is talking about, a class at Harvard Law School? Because I haven't seen it seep into, let's say, my postal delivery or my 7-Eleven shop. I just walk in. No one's talking about race.
Right, but you got to look at it's a terroristic way of painting a brush, to try to change the narrative. So just like when slaves were set free, the narrative was, oh my goodness, get all these black men because they're going to kill your wives, they're going to rape your wives, they're going to steal your daughters. So it's a broad stroke of a brush to paint a narrative. So if you find this one thing and you paint a broad stroke and say, this is going to ruin all white people, it's going to take all of our money, all the black people are going to usurp our authority, then you can try to change the narrative. But people who actually read, they're not going to fall for it.
That's the
critical race theory actually.
What is it? Like, is it in other words, if I tell someone, oh, you got to be careful for that critical race theory, what am I saying?
You're saying that it's a way of thinking.
Well,
and so for people in power, if you want to dismantle something that could disrupt your power, you're going to make it something that it's not. You're going to try and demonize it. You're trying to make it seem like it's going to come destroy everything you've ever worked for.
Correct.
Okay.
That's what the story of critical order, the classic critical race theory does. It shows you where it comes from. It comes from people of power who don't want to lose their power. Therefore, the next opposing power, or quote unquote, their competition, they want to demonize, destroy, minimize, and marginalize so that it's easy for them to get arrested for the slightest things and do maximum time. It's easy for them to get arrested. And at that time period where they were getting arrested after slavery, they were put in what was called work labor camps. Henceforth, the concept and the term hard labor, where they built societies of roads, bridges, aqueducts, sewer systems, et cetera, for businesses and cities to grow. That free labor, therefore, transferred into things called wealth for large corporations who finance a lot of these municipalities, who gave them leeway to actually build and bring those laborers in, or those people in prison, to be free labor.
Okay, so Vince, let me ask you this: since all of us we participate in our faiths, we're faith leaders, let's say, how does this, and since we're in the world of faith, how does this seep into our communities? How does it land on us as faith?
It lands on us in terms of faith by doing this. Leaders of faith have to combat that evil. You have to combat that evil. You have to understand what direction or where this evil is coming from so that you can get to the truth. Now, and in terms of how it seeps into our community is this. Not only is this seeped into the white community of understanding or believing that every black man that you see when you're walking by at night is looking to rape and rob you, or every black woman is looking to be your prostitute mistress or baby mama, but or that we're all welfare queens and kings, and the best thing that we can ever do in terms of an income is either be a musician or a sports athlete. That's where it comes into our mainstream society, where it puts us in a box where we will walk into. In fact, it even happened to Oprah in Europe, where you walk into an expensive store and they're calling the police because they think you're going to steal something, and they tell you right off the bat that you can't afford it.
Okay, and I understand that, but in our faith communities, are we fine? well, first of all, I'm in a faith community that's white and black, but and I'm just supposing that Dr. Lang is in a
I
faith
got news
community.
for you, Rabbi. We're all in the faith community that's right, white, and black. In
Okay,
fact,
so
our
how
associate
does that
minister
land on
just
the
finished his dissertation and argued the simple fact that there is no black or white church because they're intermingling and everywhere.
There
Right.
are some black and white churches. It's still the most segregated day of the week.
True.
Yeah. Oh, that I hear that, and I know that. I go out of my way to avoid that, but it's a truth. It's an absolute truth. But you know, when I what's at the core of my synagogue, what's at the core of the mosque is the Quran. What's at the core of the church, the Old and the New Testament. You know, there's all these core texts. So I look at them, and all of them are supporting. You know, there's, you know, I see it in the Bible that there's slavery in the Bible, and I see fear and loathing, and I see hatred in the Bible. I see it. And so I'm wondering, how do I balance this out? How do I make aware that this is rooted in our history, but we need to winnow it out and whisk it away? How do I do that?
I'm not going to suck all the air out of the room because that one's too easy. Anybody else?
Welcome, Imam. You want to answer that question?
Yeah, I'm just trying to catch up. I apologize. I had some quote technical difficulties. But Vince, I did hear that remark when he said I had to get the 14 or 15-year-old.
That's what I
And just for our listening audience, there's some truth to that.
Hey,
but anyway,
I'm not lying to you. That's what I do. I find a teenager like, yo, make this work. Okay.
Right. Yeah, I got you. So listen, I came in on a little late, so I'm just trying to catch up. But I know some talk about critical race theory and things of that nature. But I would just say this: one of my teachers, how he explained to us, he said, "Words make people, and words come in the written form. They come in verbally. They come in things that we visually witness and see. So what I see happening is continuously." More so the Republican Party, Fox News, and all those entities, they're constantly bombarding people with words, but words that give a negative impact and outlook as it relates to Black folks. And in terms of from a religious standpoint, it's important for us to counter it with words from our scripture. Yes, the reality is that there was always discrimination, slavery, those types of things. But at the same time, too, we have the quote words to counteract that. But we just have to internalize that in terms of our hearts and our minds.
In terms of words, and if I can wrap this up for you, Rabbi. Yes, slavery is in the Bible, but slavery was actually called bondservant or a person because Jacob sold himself into slavery for both of his wives. Okay, and slavery was an actual term of one who did not have means to use his backbone to gain means, or basically a contract of I will do quid quo pro, something for something. Now, slavery in terms of American or in terms of the global system was a form of one, taking the resources of Africa, using them in Europe and other countries to gain wealth by farming. Cheap labor. Now, slavery in the United States became a lifelong thing under the Dred Scott ruling, and the Supreme Court judge that actually issued it, or quote unquote the term slave for life. This is why I never, ever, ever will go and visit the Supreme Court, because leading into the judge's chamber is a bust of the judge that issued the term slavery for life, better known as Chief Justice Taney.
Right.
That's interesting.
Well,
I will say that the Bible has slavery, it has chattel slavery, Joseph. That's that you slamming folk and not asking them what they want. Now look at Hagar. Hagar was a slave that they took from Egypt, made her sleep with an old man, have his baby, and then they kicked her out. So you got all forms of flavor in the Bible. Now, how do you reconcile those things? How do you reconcile what's in the Bible and then wrestle with your faith about why that story is actually in there? I say because it gives balance to the whole story. You got the good, the bad, and the ugly, and then you have to choose what you want to be. You can't just validate your behavior based on some story you picked. Any text taken out of context is a con.
There you go. And
yeah, and also too in the scriptures, what we see is like in the Quran, we're told that it's approximately 10 different types of ayats or verses. And Dr. Lang alluded to this, is the fact that there are different types of stories or verses that show the ugliness, that show the weaknesses, that show the injustices.
Yes.
But for what? From the concept of reality, but also the contrast of those who are righteous and those who are unrighteous, and then the choice that we have to make relative to those two.
Correct.
Absolutely.
Now that was the whole issue. Now, in terms of critical race theory, it has been so ingrained in our society that there are the corporation of white supremacy wants to stay supreme by not mentioning, referencing, or showing history of the brutality of how they became superior. Or better known as the rich and powerful don't want you to, go into their closet and find all them skeletons. So things like critical race theory or even the 1619 Project, they don't want to discuss. They don't want to discuss the brutality of that because it still makes us the white knight, the heroes of the United States, because we want to make America great again.
Here's what's interesting. Bad press is still press. You can say, I don't want you to do this, but how many people have Googled critical race theory? How many white people are now aware of whether it's franchised, whether it's discombobulated? They're still researching it. So I would imagine it's high on the list of Google words.
But they still politically demonize the people who have now Googled and found the truth. They call them the woke mob. But January 16th, they're patriots. But people who are looking for the truth, they are a mob.
Well, one thing I noticed in one of these news programs on television, so-called news programs, they were filming one of these gatherings of a school board, and one of the mothers in a family on the school board stood up and she said, she was white, and I don't know what religion she was. I couldn't really identify her or anything like that. But she said,
"Here's my clock face. She was white."
I know, shocking, right? She said, "I don't want my child blamed for what people did, I don't know, 150 years ago." And I'm thinking, really? Is someone blaming your kid? Is that really what's going on here? But they have demonized the people propagating, quote unquote, this radical theory of critical race theory, and said, just like Vince said, they're a mob, they're a woke mob, and just to extend it further into the absurd, they're coming to get your kids. They're coming to to capture their minds and maybe do some things that are physical to them, and they're actually, this is the most shocking thing, they're actually scared. And what are they scared? They're scared of the truth.
Let's look at in terms of our faith. You tell me one prophet who was not demonized for telling the truth. People don't want, as they said in the movie A Few Good Men, you can't handle the truth.
Well, the other thing about most prophets that I'm aware of, not all, but most prophets didn't want the job because it was a nasty, brutish, and a short life job. And
people who you were telling the truth on were looking to kill you so that their secrets could remain secret.
If you were
the same thing is happening now.
And you got killed.
Correct.
And said something was true, you could get killed. It's not a good job for a nice Jewish boy. Trust me, it's really not a good.
But one of the things that I found, it seems like my lighting keeps going in and out. But anyway, is that there's probably about 35% of the population. The words, we said words make people, words have made them. And I don't think they're going to change. You can present to them the truth. You can present to them statistics to back up the truth. But they're not going to change.
Can I say that they did this study? They did this study in epigenetics. So that epigenetics is how things transfer from generation to generation. So they did this study with Holocaust survivors. and they looked at the trauma that was in Holocaust survivors. They looked at the trauma in their children and in their grandchildren, and they could see remnants of the trauma of the original participants relived from generation to generation. And so I believe the same way that trauma can transfer generation to generation, so can embedded rage. Because I want you to watch videos of white people who hate Black people for no reason. It is an absolute rage. Like, it's a disgust in them. So when you watch like how they do the videos of the Karens, you can see that they're actually disgusted. And I think that's epigenetics. I think it's generation of embedded racism that they don't even have control over.
Dr. Lang, not limited to Black people, the hate for other people against Jews, the hate that they have against Muslim, or the hate they have against the Japanese.
Yeah.
We have generational hate that keeps going from child to child to child, and they don't even know why. In the 50s and 60s in Philadelphia, once they started investigating and talking to the gang war culture, they were talking about, why are you fighting this gang? Well, it's ancient history, and nobody really knows why they're fighting, but these kids are fighting.
Exactly.
Yeah. But also too, what we can look at, what's known in Islam is a term that's used, fitra, and fitra is the natural disposition that God created the human being in. Now, what takes place because of your parents or society or your education or whatever, that fitra can change. But the original fitra can be found in children. Put a Black child with a white child or a Jewish child or whatever. You don't see the racism. You see the natural attraction that they have in terms of socialization. So we have to try to return back to that fitra.
And Imam, where do they?
Hold on. We got Rabbi. I'm going to let you come in, but we're going to take a break. Before we take a break, I'm going to tell you something that I found out. If you put a group of children, I don't care the race or nationality, in a room, they will find some way to break the barrier of race and language to play together. You put a group of adults in a room, they find some way to stay separate. Now, we're going to come back, and we've got Rabbi Lisa Bass, and I'm hoping Dr. Talib Sharif. So, and we're going to talk about the National Day of Prayer, and one of the things that we need to pray for with our country, with our world, and with our society. I'm Vincent Squire. I've got a great deal of hosts, my three wise ones as usual, Dr. Lang, Rabbi Seth Frisch, Iman Karim Bashir, and we're going to bring in our two more of our other hosts in just 2 minutes, 2 seconds.
Okay, we're out.
Welcome, Rabbi. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I am blessed. I love your background.
Thank you. It's a Jewish artist. Her name is Jeanette Couven-Oren, and she paints the silk and then she quilts it.
Nice.
Rabbi, I want you to meet Rabbi Seth Frisch, Dr. Lang, you do know, and Iman Karim Bashir.
Nice. Hello.
Rabbi, I met you about 30 years ago. We were at the seminary roughly at the same time.
Oh,
really?
Your husband is Enrique, right?
No, that's my brother.
Oh, your brother. Yeah, that's right. But I remember you from that time. Yeah.
You can tell they look alike.
Right. You were friends with Sharon. Remember Sharon, who worked in the public relations?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
yeah. It's been a long time.
It's a small world. Who would know that?
I know.
I was just with your brother. We co-officiated at a funeral just outside of Washington about a month ago.
Oh.
Your brother's a Cantor.
Yeah, my brother Cantor. Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, so we're going to Rabbi, we're going to bring you in with your last comment, and then I'm going to segue into the National Day of Prayer. Reverend Dr. Lang, you're going to talk about how the National Day of Prayer was started, and then your event. And then we will go into there. Hopefully, Dr. Sharif will be on, and we'll move accordingly. Chad, how are we doing?
We're doing good.
Okay, Dr. Reverend Rabbi Bass. That voice you hear in the background is our producer, Chaz Daly.
Okay.
About 1 minute warning, okay?
Rabbi, listen, you just get in where you fit in, okay?
Okay.
It's a conversation. Don't let everybody suck all the oxygen out the room, okay? You got
want to cut this short since we're running late?
And you got some contribution.
Let's
Say
cut
that
this
again.
short.
Rabbi Leah, don't pay any attention to Vincent. He'll suck all
All
the
right,
air out.
counting down from 5, live in 5, 4, 3.
Okay, and welcome back for those of you on our social media platforms, Roku, YouTube, Facebook, and what you got to say on Facebook and YouTube. Now, you get to experience all that great thing of production. So I'd be remiss if I didn't start with Rabbi Sefrish's comment.
You would like me to comment on the back of your comment? Yeah, I can't do better than
The
you.
comment that you were going to get before I had to cut you off because we had to go to break.
Well, cutting me off is your talent. That's beautiful. But let me jump right in.
Muting you is my talent. Cutting you off is my joy.
He's not going to remember. You know, he's having a senior moment. He's not going to remember what he was talking about.
That's it. You know, Mom, who's got the great ears, Mom? Just let me.
Hey, but I'm real. I know I have those senior moments.
Listen,
You're at that age probably where you don't
too,
want to
Rabbi.
admit.
most important here, let's just say that when Vince was mentioning little children, they get in, they find ways to work together, break down barriers. I'm going to say this: little children are born without hatred in their hearts, and they're born, and Dr. Lang, I'm going to say this, without that trauma, but they can inherit that trauma, and they can inherit things from their parents that don't necessarily go through cell development, but they go through self vis-a-vis parent development, and it gets handed down. Trauma from the Holocaust got handed down. We see it now even in the second and third generation of the survivors. And I dare say, looking at your community, I can't help but think that the trauma of what the African American communities experienced before the Civil War, during the Civil War, after the Civil War, and even up to this day, I can't imagine that too is not passed down, not by the science of the cell growth, but the science of community development and influence of one generation to the next. That's my thinking about that.
Okay.
I agree with that.
I agree too. Now, I was blessed 2 years ago to be invited to Arlington, where our very own Rev Dr Major Lang was having the Army National Day of Prayer. And a wonderful experience because I also had the honor of driving Rabbi Sefrish to Arlington because he was speaking at the National Day of Prayer. But this year was a little different. And I'm not going to suck up all the oxygen talking about how it was different for me this year, but there were also different speakers. So first, Dr. Lang, when was the National Day of Prayer established?
So it was established in 1952 by President Harry Truman. So in response to what was going on at the time, war, the threat of war, the backlash of war, and so he established a National Day of Prayer. So every president now declares the first Thursday of May the National Day of Prayer. So at the National Guard Bureau, we honor that. And in Washington, D.C., you have National Day of Prayer observances in different areas, like at the Pentagon and the White House and different places we do it. So I'm honored as the National Guard Bureau chaplain to be able to provide a prayer breakfast in honor of that. So I took the initiative to make it interfaith. And so I like that notion that prayer is talking to God, and how wonderful it is to talk to God in various perspectives. And so that is why I made it the interfaith prayer breakfast.
Okay, and one of the, I hate to embarrass certain people, but Rabbi Frisch delivered a wonderful prayer, and I mean, it was in reference to the tent of Abraham. All of us coming together under that tent.
Yeah.
You want me to comment on that? Because I'm so old, Imam, I can't remember what I said.
Well, that's why I have to remind you.
And I'm not saying to the
You're so old.
You just messed up the intro. That's why I said it. I introduced to remind you of what you said last year.
Let me say this to you. Age. Abraham was advanced in age, and by the time we read Genesis 18, he's sitting in his doorway in the heat of the day. He's just been circumcised the day before, and hospitals as we know them today, or circumcision as we understand it in the 21st century, didn't exist then. But the Imam and I, we share the ancestor of Abraham, as do many of our faiths share that. So I want to say this, the one thing he did, even in the heat of the day and in his infirmity of that moment, he opened his door, the flap of his tent, to anyone passing by. And it says in Genesis 18, he felt the presence of God. He looked up, and what did he see? He saw humanity. He saw three men standing there that the average reader of the Bible knows could very well have been the presence of God or angels, whatever. But what he saw was humanity, and he welcomed them in. He fed them. He washed their feet. It's a great example for any generation from then till now, because the desert is a harsh environment, and the tent of Abraham was open to all: food, nurturing, shelter. It's the things that we hope that humanity offers to this day. And all of us, all of our religions emulate that, put that as an example. And all of us, I dare say, fall short.
And I want just one more thing about that is that about the tent of Abraham is that according to the expansion of the text, the Midrash, the tent was open to the four sides, so everywhere people could come in, and I think it is a beautiful idea to allow all the different opinions, all different options to be able to come in love.
I agree, Rabbi.
Right,
So, Rabbi, how's your experience? Rabbi Bass, how was your experience at our prayer breakfast?
Oh, it was wonderful. I was so moved. I think that having at the National Guard an interfaith prayer service with different people from different perspectives, different beliefs, but that there's one central belief that we all agree on, which is that there's the presence of the eternal that helps us be together, and that helps us hope for a world that can be better, right? It's we can hope to make it happen. And when we all are together, there's so much love in the room that that was very exciting to be there.
Oh, not to mention the fact that the Lang children can sing. I mean, God, I just want to I want to find a producer for them, do a gospel album, do a world love album. I mean, that is such a talented family.
Well, and Dr. Lang actually apparently revived the National Guard choir. And it was beautiful. I mean, it was just amazing. So
actually, Rabbi, you should have said Dr. Lang revived the National Guard and just left it at that.
Oh, no, the National Guard choir. Well, maybe she did revive, like she brings so much spirit into it. Yes,
she does. She brings a lot of love and a lot of energy into just about everything she does.
Well, most importantly, Rabbi Bass, I just want to say one thing, and to everyone. The Jewish tradition always judges any gathering by what they serve in terms of a light, repast or a meal. Just as we emulate Abraham, what he served the angels who came to visit him in the tent. So I have to ask you, Dr. Bass, did she give you anything to eat? That's the most important thing. I mean, if we're going to talk about Abraham,
Rabbi, the food was much better this year than it was when we were last year.
I will say that we did drop the ball. We didn't have any kosher food. We didn't have any halal food. And we didn't have any vegan food either.
This is a travesty of justice that Father Abraham would not.
No, the only thing there was plenty of fruit.
You mean it's a travesty because there was
plenty of fruit and it was all good. However, there was no coffee. And I'm like,
I know.
how can you have a clergy
You got
gathering without coffee?
Yeah,
say this.
we didn't have
Let
coffee.
me say this in honor of my dear beloved colleague, the Imam. Coffee really comes to us from the Arabian Peninsula, both Yemen and the port of Makkah, also known as Mocha, and Arabia in general. So I am offended. I want the Jewish people and the Islamic peoples to be on record as offended in the absence of coffee at an interfaith gathering. This is a secondary
No,
travesty.
the spirit was so high. The spirit was so high, and the love was such an impressive place and feeling that the coffee, it was okay. They drank water.
Yes.
Oh my
And
God. That's
we're going to go to break.
tradition.
But in terms
Turning
of
water
coffee,
into wine. It's beautiful.
and at 8 in the morning, you're going to turn water into wine. Well, it's 12 noon somewhere in the world, but we're going to take a break.
Wait, hold on. If you serve Mogan David wine, also known as MD 2020 Mad Dog, the whole world will smile.
Yeah, some people will smile a lot more than others. But we're going to take a break. And I've got a question for you guys, but I'm not going to mention the question because during the break, you guys are going to discuss the question. So I've got Rabbi Seth Frisch, Imam Karib Bashir, Dr. Rabbi Lisa Bass, and Reverend Dr. Army Major Lang. And we'll be right back in 2 minutes, 2 seconds.
Okay, we're out.
Yeah.
Mad Dog 2020.
By the way, Dr. Lang, you know Mad Dog
There
was
was no
originally
matzo balls or coffee. That's
It
we're
wasn't.
protesting.
Yeah,
We're never
Mad Dog,
coming to
the
a
MD
brand
was
breakfast
for
again.
Mogan David.
Really?
Mogan
Are you kidding?
Yeah,
I
and
started
it
drinking
turned
that
out
after I graduated and made money. I mean, come
and the black people started liking because it was too sweet.
What are you talking about?
Wow.
Look, now you need to start
And
hanging
the
with some black people. You
started
need to
to
start
like it
drinking
because
some
it was too
Manischewitz. Okay.
What are you saying, Vince?
I said now he needs to stop hanging with black people and drink Manischewitz.
That's what we do. Excuse me, because I'm hanging with black people. Vince, let me quote you. This is how we do.
Whose dog?
Not mine.
That would
Somebody's
be
dog.
that would be my Cane Corso.
Wait, you have a King Corso?
Yeah, remember last year you said he was just so cute? Well, now he's 132 pounds.
Wow.
He's
You
not
know,
paying rent.
how about Bass? This is an example of
Not
Vince
only that,
with.
I had to buy.
I'm Leah. I'm happy being Leah. Okay.
No, that's okay. So let me just say, this is an example of Vince operating under the old Yiddish expression, K9 Ahara.
Canine horror.
1 minute.
That's some place that you'll go back to seminary.
Boy,
Is it Rabbi Leah or is it Rabbi Lisa?
It's Leah.
Leah. Okay, just making sure.
Okay, we don't have Rabbi Iman Talib.
No.
No, man. I'm sorry.
Just the 5 of you.
Okay, great. Okay. Well, the question I'm going to pose came from Iman Talib last week on the show. Where we had to get some tilt. Yes. So, time?
You have about another 45 seconds left. Did you want to cut it short?
Short it up. Let's run with it.
All right, I'm going to count you guys down from 5, stopping at 3. 5 and 5, 4, 3.
Okay, welcome back. And of course, you know it's always a spirited discussion when we have the 3 wise ones. Now, last week on the 3 wise ones, we had a few substitutes. One, Dr. Lang was in Hawaii, and Iman Bashir was facing some difficulties, as usual.
It's the challenges, man. It's challenges.
Do not take that from him. Do not take that.
One thing I love about Iman is that he takes his challenges on head first and he overcomes them with such grace. But and I'm dying after the show. I'd like to talk to you about the house because we still haven't found ours yet. So we had Dr. Iman Dr. Talib Bashir. He was from Sharif. I'm sorry. From America's Mosque, and he posed a statement that stayed with me forever. He talked about, adopting a child whose mother was on crack, and this child, was born in addiction of crack. And he said this child did nothing but cry all day, every day, till finally he got fed up with the crying. Because everything they tried to give the child would reject and just cry. So finally he got fed up, and he held the child in his arms, and the child cried, and he just kept holding on until the child was eventually quiet, and then gave him a look of receiving pure love and understanding. And he said in that time he realized that finally in this child's life his needs were met. Here's the question. With the violence that's going on in America right now, in fact, around the world, and the violence being complicated or being post of this COVID experience of lockdown and isolation, does the world right now need the hug of prayers?
That's an excellent question. I would say, realistically, yes. The challenge is because of trauma and because of circumstances beyond our control, we have a generation who are desensitized to the human plight. We have, the Bible says a whole generation will rise who doesn't even know God. And so for me as a chaplain, when people come to my office and they say they have no religious affiliation, they say, I had one soldier tell me they don't even think about God. That's not even a frame of reference for them because they weren't raised with that. So, because, my question as a chaplain is, where does your faith come in? And they say, I don't even think about God. I don't pray. I don't read the Bible. It's not even a part of my life. So we have a whole generation of people who are not religious. They have no frame of reference for who God is and how God fits in their life. And so for those people, you would have that human connection. You would say, I'm a human like you're a human. You could use like a generalized overview of what love would be, what good ethics would be, what good value would be. They have no language to understand or to articulate a spiritual thing, then we're fighting against something that we're not equipped for. Now, those of us of faith understand that there's a generation who doesn't know God, but then you have a territorial spirit among these different faith groups that say, my way is the best way. So now you've got people with no frame of reference watching people who are supposed to be full of faith fight over who's going to get the person who has no frame of reference. And so judgment begins in the house of God. That's what the Bible says. And we have not done a good enough job expressing that love. The Bible says you will know you're my disciples by the love you have for one another. But we don't do that. Deuteronomy 6 tells us, when you walk, when you talk, when you lay down, when you get up, teach your children, teach their children. We're not doing that. We're not teaching them love. We're teaching them a bunch of foolishness.
Mm. Well, don't all be silent now.
Well, that's what to say. When Dr. Lang lays like that kind of broadside against the ship of state, what can you say? It's you have to gulp a little air. And I just want to say, Dr. Lang, most people I know, whether they're people of faith or leaders of faith communities, most that I know really want to help their fellow human beings. Most. Some of us don't ever rise to the level of what we can do or should do. And I find mistakes within my own life all the time. But you have to redouble your efforts if you want to hit the 6th chapter of Deuteronomy with any level of seriousness. You have to take into consideration that the people that you're meeting lack, as you would say, the frame of reference that you feel right here in your chest, right inside that surrounds your heart. You're feeling it and they don't. And it's really difficult many times for me to be able to make that bridge. But when I fall short, and I want to assure you and all of our listeners, when I fall short on that scale, I redouble my efforts to try to find those bridges or to build them. And that's a lifelong commitment. And it's very difficult. Very difficult.
One of the things that is very disturbing is that statistics show that it's increasing the number of people who do not profess or either attach themselves to a specific religion or religious community. That's really growing, and it should be concerning to all of us. And a short verse in my holy book, the Quran, but it's so powerful. It just says, Wallah dhikr Allahi akbar. The remembrance of God is the greatest. And it's so important because oftentimes, if we're Muslims, we remember God maybe on Fridays. If we're Jewish, we remember God on Saturdays. If we're Christians, we remember God on Sundays. But what that verse or that ayah,
but we don't remember them up to the point where the football game comes on.
Yeah, right. But what that verse signifies is that remember Allah, remember God in your personal life, your business life, your social life, your married life, and so on and so forth. But oftentimes we distinguish it. So we have a narrow window of remembering God or bringing the religion into our life, where it should be expanded to incorporate all aspects of our lives.
I think also there's so much difficulty. There's religion and the organized religion, as a lot of people I hear, oh, I just don't do organized religion. I said, well, come to me. I'm disorganized. So let's go with disorganized religion here. But what they are reacting is the kind of institutionalizing of these, of what is the thing that we're all talking about, is that love of God and love of the other, and recognizing the image of God in the other. And so if we can't share with them that that love of God encompasses their uncomfortable feelings around this institutionalization of religion, then we're missing an opportunity. And I think in many ways people feel very judged. The moment I say I'm a rabbi, so first of all, somebody's going to say, well, when I was in fourth grade, I went to the synagogue and the rabbi was horrible to me. And I'm like, you know what? I wasn't there when you were in fourth grade. And, we're going to be talking about very different things. And don't assume my image of God is the same. I hear these philosophers saying, there's no God. And then they quote from the Hebrew Bible, all these things that God has done and how horrible God is. And I'm like, well, but that's not my image of God either, and that's not what I am understanding. And this is not how I understand the Bible. So, you're all these assumptions about me and about the criticism that I'm going to have of them. And that is, I think, it was something that we have to deal with.
Absolutely.
Yeah, something that's kind of
Vince, you're on mute. We can't hear you.
Yeah, I can hear him.
Say that again.
Vince was on mute. He was trying to say something.
I'm sorry. Rabbi, you just confirmed everything that every preacher says, is that people try to make up an excuse when they're feeling the calling of God.
Yeah, what I find interesting? Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, what I find interesting sometimes is that some people who are not, if I may use this term, not very religious. And how many times have you seen or heard where they come across a difficulty or something happened in their life, and what do they say? Oh my God! Pray like, you're missing God your whole life. And all of a sudden, oh my
There
God!
is a distinction. There is a distinction between being religious and being spiritual. There is a distinction. I'm not religious. I'm spiritual. So I feel them on that sense. Like I think about just in the Christianity, the realm of Christianity, right? There's some Christians I don't, if they a Christian, I say I can't be. Master was a Christian and went home and raped the slaves. I'm not that kind of Christian. I can't associate with that kind of Christianity. And so you have stuff like that to say, if that what being a Christian means, I'm not doing that. The people who were at the insurrection, they did it because of their faith. I'm not that kind of Christian.
But we always
I don't know what that is.
But leaders of faith and followers or congregate members of the faith, they always deal with some level of hypocrisy.
Yeah.
From one form to the other. And the worst thing the thing that really destroys spirituality, faith, interfaith, or whatever you like to actually call it, is that they always pick on one of the most fallen members of that faith and use that as an example not to come, not to congregate, not to participate, not to learn.
I like that Bishop Desmond Tutu's understanding of faith. He said, I'm a Christian, I'm a Jew, I'm a Muslim, I'm a Buddhist, I'm a this, I'm a that. There's so much that you can get from other faith traditions. One God. There is one God, different paths to the same God. And so why not take different things and make a blending? You know, like a big old gumbo. You got like a gumbo of faith. And you can pick and choose from different things and you can still reach God. It's when you try to marginalize people and you try to shove your faith down their throat and they don't want it. Like, I'm never going to say I'm the same kind of Christian as somebody who's a rapist. I'm not going to. I mean, my understanding of God is that God could love them beyond it. But that's a little beyond.
But you know something? I like to make a distinction. Of course, we're all one human family. And I think this show, it really exemplifies that in terms of how the Christian, the Muslim, and Jew can come together and actually show love and compassion, cooperation. But I see what's the word I'm looking for? Discrimination from the Islamic or Muslim aspect. I mean, if I go rob a bank, you know what the headline's going to be? Muslim robs such and such, whatever. You see that all the time. But very seldom you get Baptist does such and such.
Black Iman robs a bank.
Right.
No,
so I'm just saying, and then not only that too, but when someone of my faith does something, it kind of, the stigma goes towards the religion. But if people are out robbing banks, killing people, doing all kinds of crimes every single day, but their religion is not publicized.
Here's the thing, here's the thing in which our mainstream media villainizes our faith. Radical Islamic fundamentalists has the same principle as Hasidic and how do I say it? Evangelic, or better known as evangelic. Why? Because they always have those groups that are swinging from the other side of the pendulum. In radical fundamentalists, we have those. We have what's called terrorists. In evangelic, we have those terrorists that we call the KKK. And even in Hasidic Jews, we have groups that are actually what do they? I forgot what they actually call themselves. But we all have them. The whole issue is that being a leader of faith is how do we overcome the media view exploiting the negative of what we have to do and accentuating the positive.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult and it's frustrating. I mean, we see all types of terrorist acts, and oftentimes the media and the politicians will hold off on calling it a terrorist act because they want to first see if Muhammad did it.
Yep.
Then we'll call it a terrorist act. But until we find that out, we'll hold on.
January 6th, we had nobody named Muhammad attacking the Capitol.
You're right about that.
All right, so
you were about that. But look it's presented differently, right?
Hold on, Dr. Lang. This is the first time that Rabbi Frisch was really patient.
He wasn't patient. He forgot.
Yeah. I don't know what I was saying just now. That's how.
Just having fun, man. Just having fun.
Now, listen, empty 2020 bottle down. Pay attention, okay? Now, I want you to know that the beginning of this show, or at least this segment, was about Abraham, that all of our faiths can embrace. Now, Abraham was not without the doubts that we have of him. Especially in Genesis 21 and 22, he has a child, and then he hears the voice of God to sacrifice that child. That, Dr. Lang, is not an Abraham that I can easily relate to. I cannot. But I can relate to an Abraham in Genesis 18, who, as we spoke about earlier, can open up his tent when he sees men walk in off the desert. And he gives them something to eat, he gives them shelter, he washes their feet. And I know that Islam, Christianity, and Judaism, these religions, and there are other religions, that there are other paths to many gods out there, but to this God and to this humanity, we can learn from Father Abraham. We can emulate Father Abraham. And even when he errs and when he makes mistakes, to me, it's all in the present tense. It's not in the past. When he errs and he makes mistakes, I can learn from that too. But the thing I most want to learn about today is at a higher level, when I can look at my fellow human being and say, therein, as it says in Genesis 18, therein is the image of God, and it happens to be the imprint on a man's face. That's what I can.
And on that note, we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back with our final question and thoughts. I'm Vincent Squire with my 4 co-hosts today, Dr. Lang, Rabbi Frisch, Rabbi Leah Bass, and Iman Karim Bashir. And we'll be right back in just 2 minutes. 2 seconds.
Okay, we're out.
Okay.
By the way, Dr.
We-
Desmond, he was a forerunner of this show because he would say, I'll be back in 2, meaning 2 minutes and 2 seconds. And he laid the groundwork for what we do today.
Okay, we're going to come back really quick, and we're going to go with final thoughts of this because, one, Chaz has a class to teach, and I've got another meeting. So, Chaz, bring us back. Count us down.
Commercial's going.
Okay, after the first commercial.
Okay.
Oh, by the way, Dr. Lang, we're running your commercial.
I don't think she can hear you.
No, I see a big smile lit up there a little bit.
I don't think it's a commercial, it's more of a transition.
Yeah.
Cha-ching, cha-ching.
There you go.
All right, you guys ready?
Working on.
All right, gonna count you down from 5, stopping at 3, live in 5, 4, 3.
Okay, welcome back. So, I know some of you on our social media, and I see some of the comments. Okay, first and foremost, yes, these people are real, and this is real talk. So, let's go with this question so that we can get off the air. All right, here's the question. Leaders of faith. The world needs love right now. And I know that it is difficult because we went through a year of 2 years of isolation, followed by the politicization of treatments to get, followed by the lies behind the treatments, followed by the misinformation, disinformation, and the attack of the Capitol. How can we sit up there and successfully and generally preach what the world needs right now as love and not be hypocritical?
That's an excellent question.
It is an excellent question. I want to offer that I am doing my best nowadays to actually look at people who do not see things my way and not give up on them. And that is, although sometimes I'm just like, what are you thinking? But I really am trying very hard to show them that I actually am listening to them. I don't agree with them, but that I am listening, and that I will hope. My expectation is that they will listen to me too, and that's the only thing I can try to be a solution by not using the rhetoric that is in all this media out there that is of polarization and of hatred. And I try my best, although I really disagree with these people, and it really hurts my soul the way in which things are happening in this country.
Okay, come on, Dr. Lang.
I was trying to give the men some space to say something before I say something.
Oh, okay.
Y'all don't want the space. I'll take the space. It's fine.
Ladies
I was-
first. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
How can we not be hypocritical? We can be honest. We can be authentic. We can say, you know what? We can agree not to agree, but we don't have to be disagreeable. And part of the challenge is you see a lot of disagreeable people screaming and hollering. And part of being love is doing love. And so we're created in the image and likeness of God. And if God is love, that means we're love. Love is who we are, and it's what we do. So if we can work on ourselves and be authentic, then we'll be able to have some influence in the life of other people. When we're hypocritical and we say one thing and do another, that's what throws people off.
Gentlemen, go ahead, Imam.
Okay. Well, I'll relate to two. One verse from from the Quran, and also a saying of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. The verse in translation basically just says, meaning God says, I created male and female, and I created various nations and tribes and different languages and colors so that you may get to know one another, not to despise one another. So we have to try to get to know one another. And I think at that point, the fitra will kick in and we can appreciate each other. And the saying by the prophet is this. In translation, he says that you are not truly a believer. He didn't say you was not a believer. He says you're not truly a believer until you love for your brother what you love for yourself. And I think that statement kind of coincides with the Christianity and also Judaism as well. And lastly, I'll just say we have to start looking at love not just as a noun, but also a verb as well.
Rabbi.
Well, I just keep going back to what happened when Miriam and Aaron, the brother and sister of Moses, criticized Moses' wife. And you know what they say, it's not polite. And I think we can learn from that. They say they call her a Cushite, which is not intended as a nice phrase there. And we can learn from that words can really hurt. Words that we use can really hurt. They can sink to the bone. But Aaron, when he sees that his sister Miriam is afflicted with leprosy, the living dead, literally, for what she's done, or what they both have done, he says to Moses, do something. And Moses, who was the object of this hatred, this hate language, this hate speech, vis-a-vis his wife, but him, Moses then prays to God in the shortest prayer. And Moses says, please God heal her. And she's healed.
And we're going to find a 15-year-old to heal your technology. Rabbi, we still can't hear you. Love you, but we can't hear you.
That was a really good quote.
I know, he was doing really good. I took my finger off the mute button too. It was just, that's okay. Well, look, Rabbi, I want you to know that I didn't mute you. Okay. So what I'm going to say is this, because we're going close into the shutoff time. And Rabbi, I'm going to love for you to get back on and give you another opportunity. However, technical difficulties have now fallen upon him. So you must have said something there. You were about to say something to really make the devil angry. So, but I will say this in closing. And first, I want to thank my guest, Rabbi Leah. It's great to actually have you on the show. Welcome. I mean, you fit right in. You jumped right in there and worked out well.
It's great to be here. Thank you so much for having me. Anytime.
Rabbi Fresh, are you? Can you talk?
Yeah, I don't know what got cut off, but I just want to say words can hurt, words can heal, and we got to learn from that. Yes. We got to lead that way. We got to be that way. We've got to deliver that way. We got to deliver words that can heal, and that will help us all.
Okay. Dr. Lang, thank you for inviting me to the breakfast. Appreciate it.
We'll do
Iman.
the same thing next year.
Okay, next year I'll be a lot earlier. Iman, you gotta make a prayer breakfast with Dr. Lang.
Okay, we will try. Things are opening up now, and all. But I can say this, Imam Khalid Sharif, a good friend of mine, not just a brother in faith, but we also became almost this close to becoming relatives. My son was actually, they were this close to getting married, his daughter. It didn't materialize though, but that was many years ago.
Don't
But
shame
we
how
have kept in touch.
messed up my situations, man. I tell you, but no. Listen. I could not find a better replacement for you than Dr. Sharif. I mean, he is just a wonderful, wonderful brother. Great to talk to, and I mean, he's kind of like being around Dr. Lang and Rabbi Frisch, where you just get so much joy just being around him.
Oh, and he has a good connection, a shared connection with Dr. Lang because he was a military person. Some of his children was in the military. So he actually made a career out of it.
Yeah, definitely. But to our viewing
wait, Vince, can I just say one thing that what you just said about
yes, Stevie Wonder, you see the credits rolling and you want to think.
Listen. I just want to say that the imam can never be replaced. And we can only add to his joy. We can only add to his joy. And so I just want to make that correction.
Thank you very much, Rabbi. I really appreciate that.
You are my brother. Akhi, you are my brother.
Salam to you.
Next, I'm going to talk your brother into signing your checks for appearances. So,
okay. And by the way, we're still waiting for the sunrise.
Okay. Yeah. Great. But to our viewing audience, I want to thank you. I'm always in awe, honored, and inspired when I do the segment of the Three Wise Ones, because they truly live up to the name of being wise ones. Their wisdom, their encouragement, their insight has always been a source of inspiration to me, and I'm hoping it's a great deal of inspiration to you all. But I'd be remiss without saying a few things. First, what we've been going through and what we've been experiencing, they're all right. I mean, we need more love. We need to set the example of love. Not that selfish love or what we think love is, that's all selfish and encompassing, and it's all about you. But as one said earlier, Jesus said, do this, be good to each other, be kind to one another. This is how the world will know that you are my disciples, if you love one for another as I have loved you. Man, there has not been one doctrine in any of our faith that has not talked about love of humanity, love of God of your choice and understanding, and how that love makes you a better person. Let's look at it. We're all in some terrible situations. Maybe not the same boat, but we're still in the same storm. And we have to get through this with love, because love is the only thing that's going to overcome the violence. Love is the only thing that's going to get your neighbor to actually start talking. Love is the only thing that's going to get your brother to express to you what he's going through and what you can express to him and start his healing. Love is one of the major things that is going to get us through this post-pandemic era. So, I'm Vincent Squire on behalf of all of my co-hosts. If God's will, I'll talk to you tomorrow. Peace.
Amen.
And shalom.
All right, we're out.
Great. Okay, Kev, you can check out. I got another meeting coming on the same line. So, look, guys, that was great.
Vincent, you are almost as good today